Hi everybody, thanks for joining us today. A little different today, I'm going to learn Go and I have Andy with me.
Hello.
So Andy is also a Googler on the Go team, so perfect person to teach me some Go. Should we just get started, Andy, or?
Sure. What do you want to, I guess we should go over probably what we're going to build, right?
Yes. And I guess before we do that, since it's always a little tricky to get the setup right with a second person, if you can't see or hear us, let me know in the chat if everything's broken, please. All right. Yeah. And we're using the live share feature from VS Code. So Andy and I are sharing a session and we can both type and see what the other person is typing and so on here, in case you're wondering. Gopher's growing. Okay, good. Should we start with a hello world?
Yeah,
So
let's do that. Is that you or is that me?
That was me, and I have Go already installed on my MacBook. I don't remember if I actually had to install it at some point or if is it already distributed if you get a Mac, or do you have to install it usually?
You have to install it.
Okay, so I must have done that before.
Oh,
and version is not a defined flag.
Oh,
sorry, that was you, I guess.
Version. I think this should be fine. We may want to update to the latest version just so that we make sure that we get.
Sure. Do you want to tell me how to do that, or you want to do it for me?
If you go to golang.org/dl, then you should be able to find a link to. There we go.
Oh, downloading live on stream and installing. What could go wrong? DL? No. Oh,
yeah,
wait, I wrote Goland instead of Golang. Golang. Downloads. macOS 1.11.5 because I currently have 1.11.2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then that'll download the package installer. You run the package installer and then you're good to go.
All right. It's just taking a few more seconds to download. So I don't know why I have Go installed, but I pretty much have never written any Go. I mostly do JavaScript and Node.js. I have C++, Java, PHP background, but nothing in Go. So you have like a total Go newbie here. And I'm just reading the installer here. Previous installation detected. Please back up any data. Sure. Continue, install. Password. Oh, and did you see our cool timer that we had? So the usual timer that I use, somehow the website didn't work, so Andy wrote a timer in Go. That's what you saw. How do you call that? Go run? Why do I need Go run? Why don't I just say Go timer like I would do it in JavaScript?
That's a good question. I guess because the default behavior is not necessarily to run something. And if you go run, then typically, or before it used to only take one file name. And so you could do stuff like go tests. And so we wanted to be very explicit. Like a lot of what you'll see with Go is like everything is very, very explicit. We try not to be implicit with a lot of things.
Okay. If I do go bug, does that go to the Go repo, or like where's the bug reported?
Yeah, so actually try doing go bug.
I want to open bugs on my first day. Okay, and then goes to GitHub, where I'm not signed in right now. All right.
Right.
Oh, so and then it's just an issue on the Go issue tracker, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I don't know if the installation is working. It's stuck. Oh no, it just finished. Cool. Okay.
So yeah, if we say go, all right, great.
Cool.
We're at the latest version.
Cool.
So today we're gonna do we're going to write a cloud function, a Google Cloud function in Go using the Go runtime, which I believe is
Sounds
in
good.
beta. I'm assuming, do we have the latest G-Cloud components for beta?
I think they're always here if I have an up-to-date G-Cloud. I updated the G-Cloud yesterday, so it should be up to date.
Okay. Well, I mean, the first part of it's just writing the actual code
Okay.
and then testing it.
Okay.
So,
Is anybody in chat or is my chat broken? Can you please say hi to me in chat? Anybody? Please? Sorry for disrupting.
There's a question from Svetzai? Sorry.
Oh, hey. Okay, but so my chat is definitely broken because there's nothing showing up here, so we need to figure that out. What's the question?
They asked why not install via Homebrew? And the answer is you totally can install via Homebrew. I think because the team that I'm on runs the releases, I tend to default to going to golang.org. And there may be a little bit of a delay between the actual release of the latest version and what Homebrew provides, but it doesn't mean that installing it via Homebrew means that you're going to be out of date. So I think installing it via Homebrew is fine. And are you getting your Twitch stream?
I'm trying to sign into Twitch. And now I don't find Twitch in my two-factor auth. Oh, because it's a text message. Never mind.
Yeah.
1 second. I'm like, no, I don't have two-factor auth on my phone. All right, let's try this chat room again. And with Node.js, a ton of times I have to switch the versions. Is that something I would have to do in Go as well, or do you usually want to stick with the same one?
Well, so what is the reasoning that you end up switching the node versions? I know I've heard that, but I actually don't know why.
Because there's modules that don't work with the newer versions, or if you do something like if you work on Google Cloud and you want to have the same version that you will have in deployment, things like that. And there's a lot of differences between the versions. So usually you want to work in the same version that the rest of your team is working. So if you have more than one project, then you're constantly switching.
Got it. So when the Go developers were creating Go 1, like Go 1.0, the idea was that, or they came up with what was called the Go 1 compatibility promise. And that means that any program that you write will be compatible with any future version of Go, and there are sometimes in which things will break, but we try to minimize that as much as possible. So it should be that things break in terms in the case of a security problem that needed to be fixed, or like if you're relying on implicit behavior that's not specified, for example. So like some people would, one of the things that we actually do is that we will actually randomize the output of map keys if you print them, or if you iterate through them. And so some people would print out map keys, for example, and in tests to see if like the map contains
and those be different
value.
the next time.
And so we intentionally add this invariant so that people don't rely on the ordering of map keys. However, in the latest version, we actually changed the print behavior such that you could compare them in tests. So to answer your question, like you should not have to switch versions unless something is very, very broken.
Okay.
And if that thing is broken, then you should file a bug because it really shouldn't be.
Okay.
Or there should be a very good reason for it to be broken.
When do you think Go 2 will be released? Is that a thing?
So
Going to happen?
Go-to is this intentional misnomer in that the features that we're going to be adding to Go-to, like the generics proposal, the better error handling stuff, that is going to be backwards compatible. Or is that right? So like we don't want to create a rift in the ecosystem where you're either using Go2 or Go1. Um, and so like old programs should work on, the new version, or the ones that introduce these features. But it likely will not be called like Go2. It'll be something like, Go 113, Go 114 as we go along.
Oh, okay.
It's just that we're calling it Go2 because these are some of the more major changes that we've made since Go 1.
Okay.
Um,
So Amla is saying, love Go, coding Go since version 1.4, and I'm still in love with it. It's really fun programming in Go. So you can pass that on to your team, Andy. Well done.
yeah, well.
And Nignasa is asking, will Go2 support generics?
There is a
Because,
proposal to
yeah.
support generics, yeah. If you go to, let me see if I can find the site.
Yeah, or maybe Amla can post it because they already said there's currently a proposal for it. Oh, they probably are not allowed to post links, but anybody can Google it, right?
Yeah, if you search for, go to draft generics, then you'll find a link to our repo, which has the draft design.
Cool.
Um,
Oh, and there's a DevTO article describing it. Some blog post. All right. I'm so jealous of your cute little gopher mascot. I wish JavaScript had something. All right, should we get coding?
yeah.
Okay. Are we doing a hello world function first? What are we doing?
Yes, so we're going to do a function that will print hello world to, so it'll run using an HTTP handler. Um, and so you'll be able to go to the Cloud Function endpoint and it'll just print hello world. But we're going to do it locally and then we're going to test it to make sure everything's good so we don't have to wait for that like deploying it step to see if it actually works. And then we'll deploy it and see how it goes.
All right. Do all my Go files have to end in Go, or can I call them whatever I want?
They should end in Go.
Okay.
So,
Hi, Atomic J. Are you streaming tonight? And oh, Hertz is making a joke that Go doesn't have undefined. And MPJ, sorry, the bot is blocking links, so I posted it. Sorry about that.
okay.
All right, so I have my Go function.
So I tried creating a folder. Can I not do that?
What's the folder called?
I just want to call it, oh, there we go, cloudy. Okay. So I'm creating a folder because we're going to be declaring a new module, which is like a Go version of a package. And we need that because we need it all to be sort of self-contained, and also because we have other Go programs in the top level directory. So I created Cloudy. I'm going to create a file, cloudy.go. Typically, you'll name it the same as what your package name is, and your package name. You'll name the directory what your package name is, sort of at the top level, and then you'll name your file that.
Okay.
And so we're going to go on the terminal. We'll go into Cloudy, and then create our module. So modules are essentially, if you've looked at any existing Go code, you'll see stuff like import github.com/andybond/foo. And the idea is that if you do something like go get, it will go to that repo, and then it'll download the code for it, and that's how you actually end up getting packages. So it's this sort of decentralized model, which is a bit different from the NPM ecosystem where
Oh, interesting. So Go get will get it from GitHub rather than a Go repository of modules.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, neat.
Right. And so when you declare a module, you're also telling you're putting a namespace for the module itself, but you're also you're creating an identifier for it, but you're also saying where it's going to be coming from. So in this case, because we have not yet uploaded anything. So we're just going to declare this as like something in my repo, even though if you try to go and get it, until I actually create that repo, nothing's going to happen. So this will only exist locally.
Okay.
Um,
Should we use my GitHub? No, never mind. All right.
it doesn't matter as long as we're consistent in the future because we're going to do some things that actually use it. And so what this does is it creates a go.mod file, which if you look at that, it just says module and what the actual module name
Oh,
is.
hold on. I don't see the file where you at. 1 second. Okay, now I'm following you. Do we need a .mod VS Code file extension? Probably not, right?
Probably not.
Okay.
Um, and so here now we're in cloudy.go and we're gonna declare a package just called cloudy. And you'll see like so when you declare or when you write a cloud function, you declare just any package name, and then you say, and then it'll look for the actual function name when you deploy it that you specify when it's compiling everything.
Okay.
But if you were to like be writing a typical Go program, you would want to start with package main, which is a special package name.
Oh, just like in Java.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and then
So Nick Nazo is asking, is the same if I want to create a local module?
yes.
Okay.
So as long as so as long as locally, um, if you declare a module and then it's in essentially your local workspace, then it should be fine.
Okay.
Um, so we're gonna start. Let's say call it my func. It doesn't really matter. And this is the function signature for this is the same no matter what. The name of the function is up to you though. And
Oh,
so
and I put the variable name first and the type after. Interesting.
yes.
Okay.
So the idea is that when they were designing it, they want you to be able to say, um, sorry, um, they want you to be able to read it. Like, if you say something like var s string, variable s is a string.
Mm-hmm. Makes
Um,
sense.
and so if I save this, if we have the tooling installed, which I'm not sure if we do, then it should actually bring in all the imports that we need from the standard library. And it doesn't look like we do.
Oh, it should give us like an HTTP module.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I think what we can do is, oh, sorry. Extensions, go. Do you know which one to pick here?
Let me see.
Oh, you probably can't see that, right? So I'm in the extensions marketplace looking
I
for
can see it
Go.
on the lower. I think it's the top one.
Okay.
Because it's starred, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey Clark.io, how's it going?
Yeah, it's
So
this one.
if we run into any Visual Studio Code problems, Clark.io, can you help us, please? Okay. Yeah, the Microsoft one. Okay, so this is the one I want? Chat?
Yep.
Is this right? Okay. Everybody is like, take it, take it. I'm like, yes, okay. So I installed it, and I'm on the newest Visual Studio, so I think everything should work without reloading. Okay, the go returns command is not available. Use go get that v. Do I need go returns?
Yes.
Okay. Go get that v to install it.
Is the button there to install it?
Oh, yeah, okay, there's a install all. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, so I would just click the install all.
I did that. I didn't see the button at first.
Okay.
Okay, and now the terminal is installing 11 tools.
So Go returns is something that will, there's a tool called Go imports, and what that does is that it'll run over your code and essentially add the imports or remove the imports that it needs based on analyzing your code. And the reason why that's super helpful is because then you can just you can start writing code, and then you instead of having to go up to your file, the top of your file, and say import X, and then having to remove that, it'll just add it automatically. And this is also helpful because if you have an unused import in Go, it will actually be a compile error.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so it'll remove unused imports, which is very, very helpful. And then in addition, it'll format your code as well, which is very, very, very helpful
Yes,
when you're writing code.
unformatted code it's so hard to spot any bugs in it just because it doesn't look right. Okay.
Yeah.
So Amla is saying all those plugins make your life way more comfy. It works so smooth. All right, so I'm still installing, but they're all succeeding, so that's good.
Let's see.
I mean, at least now it knows that there's something wrong here. It just can't find it yet. Okay, all tools successfully installed. You're ready to go. Ha ha ha. Okay, so how do we get them? Oh, there's a little light bulb import.
There we go.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Oh, hey Anarchy, how's it going? We're doing something different today. I'm learning some Go. Hi, Ahmed. Ahmed, we might need your support for the cloud functions coming up. All right. So how would I write hello world here? Oh, I guess it's not print line if we put it in the cloud. I need it to in the response writer.
Yes, but what you can do is you can use the thumped package to write to the actual response writer itself. So you can say and then that gets pulled in the thumped package, and then what we want to do just to make sure that it displays correctly is set the content type. And that's it. But before
no semicolons.
So interestingly enough, Go actually does have semicolons, but they're removed. So in the language spec itself, there are semicolons, but they're not essentially from the standpoint of the developer. You don't have to use them.
Okay.
And when you run stuff like Go format or Go returns or that kind of stuff, then it'll just remove them. But you can, like here, for example, I can put semicolons after this, and then when I save it, it should just remove them.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And so, oh, I see.
Why does it not like my comment?
So, yeah, the linter is very, very opinionated here. So you say, like, my fun comments make linter happy. Yeah, there you go. And so next we want to write a test.
Can I try this locally? It's kind of hard, right? Because I would need. Okay.
So yeah, we could either write the test and then try it locally, or you want to try it locally first and then write the test.
No, let's write the test. Sounds good.
Okay. So the underscore test here, I'm creating cloudy underscore test. The underscore test is actually an important part of this. If I say, so as I add this, and then I want to make it package cloudy. So if I just have this, I wonder if this will actually work. If you say go test, it'll look for files that are named underscore test, and then it'll compile those, and then it'll run the tests that are defined in them. And this is all built into the Go language itself.
Okay. So
Um,
test files need to have a special name, otherwise it doesn't find them. Okay.
right. And then test functions have to start with test, for example. And you can also do something like if you want to run a benchmark, you can say benchmark. And so let's say test func, and then a test function always takes a parameter of type testing t. And then we can say if we log in, or automatically inserts new lines. So let's see what happens if we test it now. It should just say hello. It should be okay.
Chad is making fun that you can trick the Lexa by writing a for loop on all different lines. I'm not really sure anybody would want to do that, MPJ. Hi, Carofo. Yes, I too hope nobody ever writes code like that in production. Okay, is the test stuck or what is it testing now? Oh, there it is.
So I think this may have to do with modules itself. It shouldn't, like in the future, it should be relatively fast. It could be the V that's causing it to be. Let's see how this is cached. And the actual running of the test took about 0.355 seconds.
Okay, because the first time it had to build it. All right.
Yeah. But I wonder if we just say go test without the V.
Well, it's still pretty quick.
Okay. So here we're going to take advantage of the HTTP test library, which is the name sort of describes it, where we create a request. I think it's a request that's the type. There we go.
Oh, and this is a fake HTTP request because it's an HTTP test.
Yes.
Request. Okay.
And get, and then the path, and then let's see. Actually, it would be a good if you go to golang.org/pkg/net/http/http test. It'll give you an example. Like this is an example of what the documentation looks like for the standard library. And so new request takes a method, a target, and a body. So we don't have a body. And then a request, and then we want to create a fake response writer. So one thing here that it's complaining about is that request is declared and not used. So this is something that it's like the unused import rule. So if you declare something and you don't use it, then that's a compile time error.
Oh, so it's not just a linter. It will actually. So if we get rid of this and if we run this, it'll actually complain.
Yeah.
Fail. Okay, declared and not used. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you find that sometimes makes it a little harder to do any prototyping because the compiler is so picky?
So with Go imports and those types of things, it's a lot easier to deal with at least the import stuff. That was actually really arduous and annoying, especially as you were getting familiar with the language. If you really wanted to, if you had like requests and you didn't want to necessarily comment it out, what you can do is you can assign it to the blank identifier, and that's technically usage.
Okay.
Was like the blank identifier is literally, it's just sort of like don't use this for anything. And so you use the blank identifier for, and we'll actually use it later in this, when you don't care about a certain return value, because you may get like 3 return values from a function. And because you don't want to get into a position where you're declaring something and not using it, you can say, okay, just, like foo, I'm going to use, and then you have underscore because I'm not going to use that. The second argument returned, or the second return value returned, and then, bar is the third one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, this is interesting. So the peeing horse, funny username, they're saying we're rewriting our messaging API from Ruby to Go. 50K cost reducing a year. That's cool. Why is it so much cheaper? Like, are you expecting the maintenance to go down, peeing horse? Also, that username is so weird. Okay.
You would just say the horse. Maybe that would be better. Um, I think, well, Ruby's performance characteristics are not as good as Go's, but it obviously depends on what it is that you're building and like the problem that you're trying to solve. But generally, we've seen people who will come from Python or Ruby, for example, and they rewrite their thing. And in addition to the fact that they're rewriting something that they're already familiar with, and so they know where the performance issues are. Um, they're writing it in a statically compiled language. You'll have that performance benefit that will allow you um, to save that money on hosting costs.
Okay.
So let's create our fake response writer, which is going to be a recorder.
So I think I'm not quite following here. Sorry, I'm also distracted by chat, but we have a function that sets a header to regular HTML, and then it prints on that response object hello world. Okay. And now what are we trying to test? We're sending a fake request.
So what we're going to do is we're setting up something where we can say, run this particular handler, and you pass it the request, and you pass it a recorder from the response as the response writer itself.
And then we'll check if the recorder received the hello world.
Yeah,
okay.
And then it'll also see whether or not the status code that it set is 200, for example, that kind of stuff.
Okay. Cool. The peeing horse is saying, yes, we added a bunch of hardware and Go scaled a lot better in that regard. Our prototype led us to that estimation. Sweet. Oh yeah, don't worry about the typos. Sorry, Andy, go on.
No worries. Okay, so we have our new recorder, and then I hate my MacBook board. Sorry, I'm just looking at the documentation here. Okay, so now we have the fake version of this. And so we can say my func quest. So we're running it on this, and then we have the response, which is right. Now it's the result. Now, a response, what is returned by results is a plain HTTP response. So we can check to see what the actual, say, the status code of that is. So let's start by checking.
Before we do that, could we debug it and see what response it has? Is it easy to set up debugging in VS Code, or would that be too hard since you can't really see what extensions I'm using?
Let's see. So
if you understand it correctly, if you use the live sharing, then the other person can see your code and what you're typing and the terminal if you choose to share it, but you're not sharing what things look like. So I think while I'm installing things, or if I have the left side closed down, then Andy doesn't know that it's invisible, things like that. Oh, what are we doing in git ignore? Did I just hit that? Sorry. Leapfrog says that this makes me miss Google Wave. Oh well.
So I guess you could try to set a breakpoint.
Oh yeah,
in
that's. I
function.
just set a breakpoint and then I click on debug, start debugging. Well, that looks good. I mean, I'm getting an error here, but. Oh no, it's debugging. It's debugging something completely different. Never mind. Add configuration. Oh, and
Yeah,
I
I
would
don't
have
know.
to add the other. Okay. Go. What kind of Go configuration do I want to add? Connect to server, launch file, launch package, test function, test package. Test function maybe?
Launch text test function, I think.
All right. Let's see. Oh, I cannot find debug adapter for type Go. Yeah, maybe this is something we would have to install when we are sharing the screen or something to make it a little easier. All right.
Mhm.
No debugging for now, I guess. Console log debugging.
Yeah, but also like test-driven debugging, right?
Yeah, that can be really hard though if your test already requires fake HTTP packages.
Right. So we get the response, which is the plain HTTP response, and then so now we want to actually check the values are ones that we actually want. So moving the thing. So we can do this got want idiom that a lot of Go users use, where say response status code, and then we want it to be 200 equals want, and so let's change this to like 400 and test.
Oh, to make sure we get a failing test first.
Yeah. Why is this so slow?
Might be my machine. That is really slow though for such a small function. Oh, does it maybe need to... No, it doesn't need to download the HTTP test module, right? It already has that, otherwise the
No, yeah, it
linter...
already has it. And the test itself is saying it's running in 0.3 seconds, so that this is something's weird. But we got a failing test, so that's good.
Wait, it says... Oh, there it says fail, okay.
And so we got 200, which is what we wanted. We want 400, so we're going to change this back to 200 to make sure that. And the reason why we declare it seems a little redundant to declare, a got want, and you could just say, response status code down here, for example. But I like it; it's kind of convenient. So that's saved. We can say go test. And then it's just okay. So everything passed. We're good.
Okay.
So
So
now we
got
want
it
to.
200. Okay.
So now let's check the actual body. So
Oh, Leapfrog is saying, I found all my Go commands run super slow after enabling Go mods.
Oh, so he's talking, or they're talking about Go modules. Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah. Are we using that? We are, right?
Yeah, we are. I wonder if there's an open bug about it already. Because I was testing this or this particular workflow yesterday, and it seemed to be there was the initial slowness, but then after that it was okay. Um,
Okay.
and this shouldn't be grabbing anything or trying to like connect to the internet or download stuff, given what we're doing right now. So it will be in the future, but it's not. It shouldn't be doing that now.
Okay. And the peeing horse is saying I've added 3 helper functions, okay, equal assert, saving a lot of boilerplate. So I'm wondering, is it easy to share these boilerplate functions? Would I just get them with the go get GitHub repo? Like, because in JavaScript you would get probably lots of modules and just use them and reuse them instead of implementing it yourself. How is that in Go philosophy?
Generally, the Go philosophy is it's better to, like, when it comes to whether it be creating a package prematurely, um, or adding in dependencies, we're generally a lot less, um, we're a lot less, so I don't want to say what's the right word, trigger happy to like go grab a package.
Modules happy.
Sure. Yeah. We're like, and so it's something where it's like, this is not to me a crazy amount of boilerplate, and it's much more explicit as to what it's saying. Um, and so if I use one of the issues that I've run into where I've used assert frameworks like I don't know if it was Jest or whatever the Polymer test runner was using as well, um, was that actually I didn't know, and this was a problem with the library itself because it documented it incorrectly, but I didn't know what was got and want in the ordering.
Okay.
And then because the package was actually broken in terms of what it would say, it would switch the two. So even the library author hit the same problem. Um, so I tend to not use the assert frameworks that or assert like modules that Go authors use. Um,
So
so
why do you define God and want inside this if statement? Why are we not writing God equals status code, want equals 200 if God not equals want? Why are we putting this all into one line?
so if you did that, then what'll happen is
Yeah,
that
because this is sort of how I would write it in JavaScript, I guess.
right. So what this is doing is it's declaring it at the scope of the function itself. And so here, when you want to have it again, you have to say equals
Oh, okay. And by
because you
keeping
can't
it
declare
inside the if, I make it local to that block, but I can use it. Okay, gotcha.
exactly. And so say like you end up deleting this test case, then you need to go back down here.
Yeah.
Um,
And now, would it be wrong if I do it like this, just so that I can read it more easily?
no, I don't think it'll be wrong.
Okay, it's just not typical Go style.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I think, yeah, you'd have to delete. There you go.
All right. So it would be wrong.
Well, it would be wrong if you had the actual definition of
Yeah.
the variables, but you could still do this. Um, that should still work as far as I understand. Um,
Oh, and MPJ is saying that Go FMT will get rid of the parentheses though. Okay, so it would clean it up for me just like the semicolons.
yeah, it looks like so. Yeah, exactly. So now we can say for the response body, we need to actually grab the response body. Um, oh, this is our first multiple return value function. So Defer it being closed, which I'll describe that in a second. So let's step through this part. IOUtil read all will go through the response body and then read all of the everything in the response body until it hits end of file and returns a byte slice. So we go to this definition, see if this will work. So body, yeah, there we go. It will return this as a slice of bytes and then an error if anything hurt, like any problems occur during that.
Okay.
Now, and then if the error is not nil, we didn't expect that, so we give it an error. We could actually, the difference between error and fatal F is that like fatal means like don't proceed with the test, like we're done, we can't do anything more. Typically, what you would want to do is have an error F if you can, because you want the test to like say other parts of the test pass or can continue, then you want to continue with the test.
Okay. So if we got an error, because if it's not nil, so we got an error, then fatal. Gotcha.
Yeah, because then it's like if we're testing the actual body contents, then it's sort of useless because we know that it's not going to be what we want.
Okay.
Let's see. Hello. We have a say hello world without a new line because we know that there's going to be one.
Okay, so now you're checking against a wrong string. So you're just checking for the new line, but we could say hello Twitch to make it more obvious. And then got, what's a %v?
So v is essentially it's the value. So we can say.
Oh, so it works for numbers and for strings.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why this is complaining about missing conversion.
I don't see it complaining anywhere.
Oh, okay, maybe that's just me.
Oh no, I see it complaining now. Oh no, that was an old arrow. Okay.
And we're testing.
%v is love, %v is life. All right. That's good to remember.
So another one that's actually useful during tests is %q. And what that'll do is so right now if you see how it said like, got hello world and then it broke, want hello Twitch, then what it'll do if we change it back to be like hello Twitch.
Oh, I will. Oh no, you're breaking my test again, Andy. Oh, and what's %+v? Hi, Chris.
%+v is actually really it's nice because if you have a struct, for example, if you say %v, it'll print the values of the structs, but not the actual keys. Whereas if you have %+v, then it'll print the struct keys and the values.
Okay. Chris,
so
did you used to be on the Go team at some point, or were you just working a lot with them? It's a C-Pro, Chris, in case you're wondering, Andy.
yeah, he used to be on the team.
Okay,
As
cool.
far as I know.
All right, so we got the test.
Um, okay, so we have our tests. We think it works. Um, and so now we can deploy our cloud function and see if it works.
Okay, I want to commit this to my regular GitHub before we do that. Do I commit the go.mod?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that just says what the module was. Okay.
Yeah. It's not like the node modules directory, for example.
It's more like a package JSON.
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, cool. Committed.
Okay. So now we want to actually deploy to we want to deploy our cloud function.
Okay. I'm just gonna show in the browser real quick. If I can show it, GCP Cloud Functions Go. Oh, no, I want the official documentation. Event-driven serverless computing. And where are the docs?
So uh if you search for Go Quick Start, like Cloud Functions Go Quick Start, it should give you a it should bring you to a page that gives you the commands. There you go.
Okay, I think I got it now. And we're using the gcloud command line tool, right?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Go. Oh, and this is still in beta. Okay. Oh, so maybe I have to do the install beta. Let's see. Yes, continue. Okay, so we want to deploy this one function, which means it's available as an HTTP endpoint, and we can ping it, and we should get hello world back, right?
Yep, you got it.
Okay.
So while this is downloading, are there any questions in the chat?
They're saying hi to Chris. They figured out that Cbro is Brody. Why do you have two different usernames, Chris? That is very confusing. Okay, yeah. Sorry, this is a little slow. I should have done this before. Then MPJ is saying that there's also %sharp_v, gives a Go-like representation that you can usually paste in sources and will build the type instance. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot. If we go to the going.org, the thumped package, and I used to call it FMT, and then I realized that the entirety of the Go team calls it thumped. So
Like FONTS?
no, so FMT. So it's
Oh,
going.org
okay.
slash so if you
What
go to
does
going.org
FMT stand for?
format.
Ah, duh, okay. Hi Samsite. Samsite's asking, can this be easily run locally?
Yes, absolutely. If you have Go installed, you should be good to go. Or do they mean can you run this locally as in like a local web server?
I don't know. What do you mean, Sam? Oh, Cbro, no, this is not the deployment that's slow. I'm just updating, I'm installing the beta components. That's taking a time. And then Amber wants to say they want to tell Andy that he and the rest of the Go team is doing an amazing job.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. All right, we are done installing them. So how do I deploy this?
Okay. So now something along the lines of, what is it? Did we find the quick start?
We did. Should I copy and paste from the quick start? Oh,
I mean,
okay, so the first thing
essentially-
I need to do is I need to create a project. So, sign in. Just signing in. Let's see. Signed in to the console. And now I'm saying new project, go for JS. Okay. Do I need to turn on any APIs or anything in a new GCP project? I don't think so, right?
I don't think so, but I'm not sure because I didn't test this with, I tested it with my existing project.
Okay.
Um, but well, that was fast. So then now we type, um, if you go down to deploy a function,
Okay, let me just authenticate real quick.
Yeah.
Yes, allow. Okay, I'm authenticated, and now in the quick start. Oh no, it does say enable the API. So
Okay.
let me do that. Yeah, so if you're using GCP, Google Cloud Platform for the first time, you have to log in and set up your credit card or something. There's also a free tier. And if you're using a new product for the first time, you have to enable, usually you have to enable a specific API. So if you go through any of these quick starts in the docs, always make sure you have these steps, otherwise you get weird errors and it's sometimes not obvious what's missing. Okay, enable, go for JS. Which API am I enabling? Cloud Functions API. Okay. Prepare your development environment. Bye, Chris. Thanks for joining. See you later. Okay, get the sample code while we wrote our own sample.
Yep. So now we just need to deploy it.
So we have a package and we have a function, and now deploy. All right, but our function is not called hello get, right?
Right. It's called, let's see, it's called myfunc. So this guy.
And do I need to specify the package name Cloudy?
No.
Okay.
It'll look in the current directory and then it will compile things there, I believe. From what I understand, there's like a little bit of magic going on.
Should I hit enter? Enter? Enter?
Yes, sorry. It'll look in the current directory, it'll find a package, and it'll also look for an exported function called myfunc. Exported essentially means more or less the same that I think that it does in Node where it's available to outside of the package. And you export things in Go by having them start with a capital letter.
Oh, I don't have to do that explicitly. Whoa, that's really confusing. So if this were lowercase myfunc, then we could not use it as a cloud function?
So that's actually, well, in a library, you would not be able to use it. As for the cloud function itself, I'm not sure how like the magic works in terms of how it determines how to like how it determines like to compile it and then run it.
Okay.
It could be that it works.
Cool.
But when you're writing a library, for example, or something like that, then you have to be explicit as to what stuff is available outside of the package, and you do that via the capitalization.
Do you find that's easy to see, or do you sometimes miss that something is not exported?
I find it to be actually really easy once you work with enough Go code. Um, because
So,
you're reading a lot and oh, there we go.
yeah. Yeah, so in the console I can see that it's already deployed. Oh yeah, and here it also looks like it's ready. So what do we do with this?
So in the console, there's a URL.
Is it the same one that I get in the terminal?
Yeah,
URL.
there you go.
Sweet. Ready, ready, ready. It worked. Well, sort of. It didn't render real hard, but I can forgive it for that. Cool. Okay, so we have this function now that always says hello world, and we have a test for it. What's next?
So now we're going to display a gopher using ASCII art.
Ooh, nice. I like that.
Um,
Is that the gopher that you sent me earlier?
yes.
Cool.
So let's copy that or move it into current one. The cloudy
Oh, you just
directory.
moved it away under me. Okay.
Sorry.
I was just going to open it and I'm like, where did it go?
And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start with opening the file. Um,
Wait, I need to follow you. Gotcha, okay. Yeah, so Visual Studio Code has this nice thing. If you're using the live share, you can follow somebody. So if I right click, you can follow and unfollow them. Or if you just follow this like colored dot here, and then it jumps to where their cursor is, so you can stalk them. It's like programmer style stalking in VS Code.
yeah.
Okay.
So if we have an error, we want to send an error to the response writer.
So is it good practice to just open gopher.png, or should it be like path joined with that? Is that fine like this? Should it not even be dot slash?
So if you were running, say, like if you were running a main program, like a binary, then if you say something like OS open, whatever, dot slash or without the dot slash, um, then I believe it'll try to open it from the current directory that the binary is being run in. And so you want to make sure that the gopher.png is in the same directory. I don't think there's any difference between dot slash and just gopher.
Okay.
Um, but does that answer your question?
Yes, yes. Thanks.
Um, and so if there's an error, we'll send the error to the response writer, and the error function essentially will set the status code that we give it as the third parameter, in this case 500. And then it'll write the error to the actual response writer. Um, and then we want to return so that nothing else is written to the response writer. In production code, you'd probably want to utilize what's called the init function, and the init function is a special function name that is run when the package is initialized or imported, essentially. And what you can do is do one-time setup for this.
Okay.
And so you could potentially open the gopher.png and do what we need to do that we're doing in the actual handler itself just once. And so in cloud functions, for the best practices, they tend to say if you have something that you need to do at the beginning of a cloud function open or starting up, then you should do it in the init function.
Okay.
But for now, let's not do that. We can do all the work in our handler. So now we want to make sure that we close the function or close the file once we're done with it. So what defer does is that it will place the function that you're calling essentially on the stack of functions to call once the current function is exited. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end, no matter when it actually returns, for example, it'll then just start popping off these functions to execute.
Okay.
And so it's like it's it's good for like doing cleanup things because you may have different times in which you're actually returning from a function or whatever. Um, so now we have our file data, um, and we want to decode that into an image file or an image format. Um, there is a standard library type called image, and, and so we can say source, I believe it's image decode F. I understand it.
Oh, okay, because we are opening Gopher and now we are decoding it as an image because it's a PNG. And now we can pipe the source to something that turns it into ASCII.
Now we have our function, we're decoding it. So what'll happen when we actually try to run this, which we can either create a runner to do this locally, um, or we could potentially actually just run the test. Actually, we could just do that.
Just run the test.
Yeah. Is that it'll give an error.
Oh yeah, because it's not saying the right thing anymore, right? Are we sending anything back right now? No, it failed to build.
So this is where, there we go. The 3, this is where like we don't care about the third thing.
Oh, what's the middle one?
So what this is saying is like, what this is returning is the file in a image.image format, the actual text of the image format. So something like image/png, for example.
Yeah.
And then any error encountered.
Cool.
So we don't really care about the format of the image. And so we just say, just forget it. And if we wanted to, for example, we could say, I don't care about the error.
Like whatever, we don't have errors, right?
Yeah,
leave it in there because we probably like mistyped the file name or something.
Yeah. But you never want to ignore errors generally.
Okay.
And so, okay, so that's done. First declared not used. All right, well, let's not use this for now.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I meant earlier when I said, do you find it hard that the compiler is no new variables on left side?
So this is where...
Oh, because this error here is also global. Okay.
Yeah. Or declared within the function, I guess.
Yep.
So yeah, this stuff can be hard to like to deal with. Okay, so
okay, compiled. Image unknown format.
Okay, so the image package is, and I believe the reason that they do this is to reduce the amount of dependency bloat that's actually in your program. But generally, what it requires you to do is you end up declaring basically via the imports which image format you want to essentially support. And you're doing this via the blank import because we're not actually using the PNG package. In that we're not using it directly by saying, like, we can say PNG decode if we want to.
Oh, but we don't have to tell it that, okay.
Right. And so,
Yeah, and I just ran it, and then it is okay. I guess because we're not testing anything.
Right. Well, what had happened, like no errors are
Yeah,
happening,
yeah.
and therefore it's just like, um, and so we declare, okay, we're pulling in the PNG format. Everything's good. We know how to decode this type of file, because if you say, like, say you included all the image formats in when you imported image,
Yeah,
then
it would
you're
just be
using a lot.
huge. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can, oops, use a function again, use a variable again,
Yeah.
colon. And now what do we do with the source?
So now we're going to get this package um, that I wrote to convert image files to ASCII. Let's see. So what this will do is it'll grab it, it'll add it to the Go mod file. So now you see in the Go mod file we have this.
Okay, so the Go mod is really like a package JSON. It's some information about the thing itself and then its dependencies that are not in the
Yes,
code.
for the most
Okay,
part.
cool.
And then also there's a Go .sum file, which will give, essentially it's like, I think it's like package.lock.
Yeah, yeah, like more
Um,
detailed information.
yeah.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
And so now we can pull in um, our ASCII. Oh. Are you saving?
It's always auto-saved.
Oh, that's why. Okay. Um, so then we have our art is,
Oh, I like that we're making art now.
I mean, it's all subjective, right?
Yeah, I think it's art. I think it's very artistic.
Okay, now we can uh, so now it should give us a pretty long message because it's trying to compare Hello Twitch users to,
Oh, whatever ASCII part here is, okay.
yeah.
And we're printing out that message like that, okay.
Well, this is very
Come
slow.
on, test.
Come on,
I wonder
continue.
if the live sharing makes it slower. I wonder if I run this in the terminal, that'll change anything.
Yeah, it's weird. I got, like, mine runs pretty quickly.
No, it's just as slow in the regular terminal. Yep, and I guess our test failed because that ASCII is not the same as Hello Twitch.
Yes. So let's remove that part at least from.
Should we like grab the beginning of that string and compare like the first 20 characters or something? Like
Maybe.
we want, this is the beginning. And now we want to make sure that God contains that beginning.
I think we want, so if we say got the actual body want, and then we would say strings.
Oh yeah, that's good. Has prefix.
Um, doesn't, then let's see if that works.
I mean, something is really slow. I'm hovering over has prefix and it's stuck in loading instead of showing me the syntax for that function.
Yeah, I wonder, like, I'm trying to understand what it is about, like, which one of the, I don't want to blame it on the tooling, like the
Yeah.
external tooling, because I don't know what's going on. So I don't want to automatically say, oh, it must be some other tool, because it's not fair. But this is definitely much slower than my general day-to-day experience when I'm
I
running.
wonder if I installed some better version or something. Oh, now it's here. Has prefix, string, comma, prefix. Okay. And it worked! Okay, let's make sure that it's not broken. So this should fail. Yes, okay. Sweet. All right. So this doesn't look very artistic yet.
Right. So we want to wrap it in a pre so that it actually displays what the. And then now because deploying cloud functions, we want like um a quicker feedback loop. We're going to create a new runner. Um, let's call this runner. And so
Wait,
this,
what are you doing now? I didn't follow. Oh, new file,
I'm,
okay.
I'm creating a main package so that we can compile it locally and then run it.
Okay.
Um, so, oops. Here,
Oh, so you're setting up a little HTTP server that on slash is serving cloudy.myfunc. Okay.
right.
Okay, so in Node, I would start up an Express server probably and add the slash route. Gotcha.
Okay, so now let's go.
And why do you have to import GitHub Andy-Bonds? Why does it not understand that it's still local one? Oh, because we called it that in the go.mod file.
Exactly. So because it's
Okay.
declared here as that,
Okay, that's why this one's using the same name.
it'll
Gotcha.
look locally. Yeah. So now let's see if that works.
So I just deployed it, but yeah, let's try the local one.
Okay.
So how do I start this? Do I just do go run runner? Wait, where's the
Um,
runner folder coming
I
from?
think if you try just yeah, go run dot or go run, sorry, yeah, that should work. Let's
Why
see.
did you put runner in a folder runner? It's a lot of runners.
Why did I put it in that? Because it's a different package.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Right. So
because you don't want it to be deployed with Cloudy.
right.
Okay.
And also I can't because it's the main function, you have to say package main,
Okay.
and that has to be its own package. And
Oh, okay.
I don't think you can declare a cloud function in package main, although I could be wrong.
Oh, look, it's working. Oh, that's so cute. No, I just want to like, no, I want to
So
feed it.
I think because the it looks like it's stretched because the line height.
Oh, yeah, we would need a different font. I can
No, I don't think
probably,
we need a different font. We just need to reduce the line height. So if you let's pull up the inspector and play around with.
yeah. Oh, gee, that font is gigantic. Okay, so I'm in the inspector. I'm on elements, and then where would I
Um,
change the style?
on the pre tag.
Pre. Can I just write in here? No.
There you go. And then within the element style, you can
Doesn't
test
let
out
me edit it. Oh, there it is. And then I want padding, height, spacing.
line dash height.
initial, normal, unset.
Try like 2 pixels.
Oh, it's a little fat gopher.
And then there you go. So then like, yeah, then you can adjust that to be
Okay.
whatever.
Is that like a average shaped gopher? I think I like this one.
Yeah, I think 7. Okay, 7 pixels is good.
Oh.
So let's do.
Okay, so we just tested it locally, but I guess we can just test the cloud function, right?
Yeah.
Yay! It works. Cool. Can we make it move? Probably not.
I'm probably, but
Like, move the
probably
little
not
arms.
within the time that we have.
All right.
Um, so I'm back in the editor, and I just changed the line height.
Oh,
Kids do not
neat.
do this at
Okay.
home. Inline styles are bad.
Nah, they're fine. They are fine. So if I go back to this
Um,
and I'm reloading, I guess it should be at 0.7 without that I did any editing.
yeah, which looks like it did.
Yeah, yeah. Sweet. So if we deploy that. So ideally the website would allow you, or that like, the cloud function ideally should allow a post so you can post an image instead of always getting the goofer, right? So everybody could post their own images and get ASCII art back.
Yes,
Okay.
ideally. Well, it depends because people could then post bad images.
Yeah, but they would be the only ones seeing them.
That's a good point. Yes.
Nobody has to see it.
I guess I was thinking about it like they would post it and then we would end up showing it. But if you're,
No,
yeah.
no. Oh, yeah, no, that would be bad. I don't, no, no, no. Yeah. Okay. Oh, that deployment was pretty quick, I think. So if we go to the deployed one, refresh. Oh no, it didn't change it? Didn't take the style?
Hmm.
Oh, maybe, no, it's always the same link, right? It doesn't have a version or anything.
Yeah, there's no. Oh, I just hard reloaded it. I think it was just that.
Oh, because it's style. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Atomic Jane. No problem. I love this gopher mascot. All right, so it'll always be the gopher. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, but that's cool. So if you have a little bit of code that maybe does a lot of work, like I don't know how resource intensive this is, but you can imagine that the ASCII thumbnail is a lot of image processing, or you're doing some other image processing that takes lots of resources. You can put it in a cloud function, and then that scales exactly as you need more or less resources for specifically this task. And it's not that your web server has to be on this massive machine when really you just need it when you do the image changes. Cool.
Yeah, and the canonical example I feel like I hear with every use case of Cloud Functions is if you have a service that needs to compute different sizes of like an avatar image, then like you upload your avatar and then a Cloud Function gets like you put it in S3 or you put it in GCS, for example. And then because you have a trigger for GCS, or you can trigger a Cloud Function based on GCS changing, it'll say, "Oh, I found like a new picture of Andy or Franzi,"
Or the
and then
gopher.
or a gopher,
Yeah.
and it'll create all the thumbnail versions that are used throughout your app.
Ah, cool. Yeah.
And so that's at least what I've heard.
Okay. So how much does this cost to run if you don't work at Google and use your Google demo account for it? This is probably in the free tier for quite a bit of functions, right? I'm looking
I
at
think it's
it.
so looking at pricing, the first 2 million invocations are free.
Okay.
And then beyond 2 million, it's 40 cents per million.
Okay, but that's the invocations, and then we have to add the compute time, right?
Yes.
Okay. I cannot even read that number here. That's too many zeros before the cents.
Yeah.
Okay, do they have like... Oh, here's the free tier. 2 million invocations, so that's a lot of people changing their avatars. 400 gigabytes seconds. Okay, so that's quite a big. So as long as you do something just with your friends, or like if you're coding on Twitch and you're sharing it with the people watching, you will always be in the free tier, I believe. Well, you could have a really heavy computation, but if it's a little bit of playing with an image, it's fine.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, pricing examples. If you have 10 million times per month, 300 milliseconds each time, $3? No, $7 if you have 10 million. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, if you run a real production thing, do your math at some point. But as long as you're playing, you will never hit the 10 million hits. Cool. That was fun.
Yeah, this is great. They should have like sliding graphs where you can see actually like when am I going to get charged money
Yeah, yeah.
um, that you can play around in.
Yeah, but as long as you're not doing this for production, or if you just have a small local business or something, I'm pretty sure you're usually in the free tier.
Yeah, people, I mean, people underestimate how much you can get for free with using App Engine and these other things.
Yeah.
You can serve a lot of, well, a lot is relative, obviously, but like a decent amount of QPS without even touching the paid tier for App Engine, for example.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
so if you do a school project homework and you're sharing it with your whole class or something, you'll never hit 10 million.
yeah, definitely not.
Okay.
Um, MPJ is asking, are you going to do other streams together?
We
I don't know. I don't
should.
know.
Am I supposed to check in go.sum?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, what would people want to see in another Go stream? Waiting for chat. And I guess there's always that 10-second delay.
Oh, that's right, because is that a technical limitation or is that an actual product decision on Twitch's part?
I believe it's a product. I believe it's a technical problem. Like, I'm streaming from home, so I don't have production internet, and I think the choice is between less lagging and better quality, but since people have to read the font, I go with the better quality, so the lag's a little higher.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. Nick Nazo says, yes, please. MPJ says, I've seen a lot of new stuff having Go on the back end and Angular material for the front end. Is that what ANG is? Angular material?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never worked with Angular. I've heard tons of good things about Vue.js. So I'd be interested in doing some Vue.
I've worked with Angular 1, but not, I mean, what are they up to now? Like
7, I think.
7 or something? Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. Um,
Okay. So MPJ, are you interested in seeing the front end part for it, or are you more interested in the back end part? I mean, I guess we saw a lot of back end here. In the runner, we have a whole HTTP server that's running locally. It doesn't do all that much, but it does show you a gopher. So MPJ want to see how to make them cooperate. So how do you combine backend and frontend if backend is Go and then some frontend framework? Yeah, that would be interesting, though I'm not an expert in that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Angular, I'm guessing, does Angular use Webpack for its
I'm
packaging stuff?
pretty sure it does.
Um, I have a project where I use Webpack and Go, and there's definitely some things that I don't think it's as seamless as using it with Node.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And well, it's not as seamless sort of out of the box because I don't think when the Webpack devs are writing it, they're thinking like, oh,
How
we need
does
to
it
make
look
the
for Go?
yeah, exactly. We would like them to, but um, but yeah, I think that that's definitely I don't know, maybe worth going over in on a stream, but I don't know. Is there
Yeah.
anything? So they said they find it tricky. So what parts are tricky? Yeah, and then Mech Jack is saying there are some fun hurdles with Webpack and Java using Gradle. I feel like that would definitely have to be uh that would almost have to be like not like a presentation style thing, but we would have to prep for it a lot more because there's a lot to unpack there.
Or we just show on stream how like we can't handle Webpack together with Go.
Yes, well, this
We're
will
just
be
like,
like
what is that?
yeah, this will be the cure for imposter syndrome for every other engineer. Be like, watch a couple of Google engineers.
Being like, I can't get Webpack Hello World to build a bundle.
Yeah, exactly. And then just have that be an hour and a half stream.
We would make everybody's day because they're like, well, at least they got that to work today.
Right. If we get it to work, that's a big if.
Cool.
Um, yeah, that could be our theme, you know. And Andy comes to cure your imposter syndrome for the week.
Nice. People wouldn't really learn anything except how to deal with frustration, but
Just watch other. I mean, it's like, it's like watching reality TV. You're not there to like watch people have functional lives. You're there to watch the train wreck. So we're providing that train wreck for them so they can
yeah.
feel better. We're performing a public good, right? Am I going too off the rails?
So MPJ is saying we should call the new stream series The Struggle.
Hmm.
I would say The Struggle TM is an even better name.
It'll be the kickoff of my reality TV career.
That might also be the end of your reality TV career.
It'll be the end of my Google career and the start of my reality TV career.
Okay. All right. Cool, that was fun. So now I can write some Go if I need to. I feel like there's a ton of boilerplate, but now that I have a few files that should be easy to copy and paste and be like, oh right, I need import and like, why is there a blank line? Because one is like core and the other is not. Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
looking at runner.go.
yeah, no, I see it.
And I'm like trying to delete this blank line. And the linter is like, no, gotta stay.
It separates them because, like you said, there's this like they're grouped based on the standard library and then external libraries.
Oh, okay.
So it's just another opinionated thing.
I like the opinions though, then I don't have to worry how to write it. It's just like, that's how it's done. Get over it.
Yeah, one of the creators of the language talks about how Go format is everyone's favorite and also like not everyone's favorite. Um, in that it removes a lot of decision making, but some people just don't like the output sometimes. And so they love it because it removes that decision making and it formats things all the same way. But they hate it because it formats things all the same way.
Yeah, but it's nice if you don't have to worry about that. Just
Yeah.
one thing less to maintain and discuss with your teammates.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
And it does, I mean, yeah, Go is known for being like some call it verbose and others call it explicit, depending on how you want to present it. Um, I found that in my personal experience with Go projects, especially if I have like a side project, it's much easier to like leave it alone for 6 months and then come back to it and know what I was doing. Like I find myself being able to get back into my mind space or my headspace as opposed to other projects. Like I would do stuff in Objective-C or Swift, and I would go back and I'd be like, what? Like, what was I thinking? Like, I don't remember writing this.
Okay, yeah.
Um,
But then you also work the most with Go, right? So it's natural that you'd be most familiar with it.
that's true, but this is also before I like joined the Go team and was doing other stuff. I was doing mainly front end work when this happened. Uh, but yeah, it's just it's fascinating. Like I could go back to some JavaScript code now that I still write in day to day and be like, what's happening?
So much happening
Yeah,
asynchronously everywhere.
right. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's my experience, but your mileage may vary.
cool. Well, thanks so much for teaching me some Go, Andy.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Frenzy.
Yeah. And thanks, Chad, for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this, learned something. We'll put some Gophers out there in ASCII. And I see you on Saturday morning, I guess. All right, bye, everybody.